Okay, I have to be honest with you right out of the gate.
Hmm.
When I saw the packet for this deep dive land on my desk this morning, I had a very visceral reaction.
Oh, yeah.
I rolled my eyes hard. I saw the names, Beckham, Peltz, and I immediately thought, great, another rich family having a spat on Instagram. Who actually cares?
I had the exact same reaction. I really did. It feels incredibly superficial on the surface.
Totally.
It's celebrities, it's fashion, it's weddings. It's so easy to just dismiss it.
Exactly. It feels like pure tabloid fodder.
Yeah.
Right. The kind of thing you scroll past while you're waiting in line for coffee, maybe judge them a little, and just move on with your life.
For sure.
But then, and this is why I love doing this, I actually started reading the documents you pulled. And I'm not kidding, about 10 pages into this briefing document, my jaw was on the floor.
I was waiting for this.
Because what I realized, and what we're going to show you today, is that if you peel back the layers of gossip, this isn't a story about a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law fighting over a dress.
Not at all.
This is a masterclass in corporate strategy, psychological warfare, and what looks, for all intents and purposes, like a hostile takeover of a legacy brand.
That is the perfect way to frame it. And I think that's why we need to be very specific about what we're looking at today.
Right.
We aren't looking at U.S. Weekly clippings. I mean, when we look at the stack of source material for this deep dive, the picture changes completely.
It's a different world.
We have a due diligence report on business ethics, a psychological profile on control freaks, and a strategic crisis management report regarding the Beckham brand. When you put these together, you aren't looking at a family argument anymore.
No.
You're looking at a collision of two massive economic powers.
And that is our mission today. We are going to unpack this entire mess. We're going to figure out how a dispute over a wedding dress spiraled into legal threats, allegations of abuse, and a battle for the soul of the Beckham dynasty.
A wild ride.
And we aren't just going to gossip. We're going to give you, the listener, some actual tools. We're going to talk about how to spot gaslighting using media literacy tactics. We're going to explain the psychology of the golden son. And we're going to look at how generational trauma has this just nasty habit of repeating itself.
It is a fascinating, if a little terrifying, case study in how business and family get hopelessly tangled.
Okay, so let's dive in. The best place to start is the spark. The moment the whole Happy Beckham family facade just cracked wide open.
The wedding.
We have to talk about the wedding. April 2022, Brooklyn Beckham marries Nicola Peltz.
The society event of the year. Or at least it was supposed to be.
Supposed to be. But according to the briefing document we have, it was more like a battlefield. And the biggest headline, the one that dominated the news cycle for months, was the dress.
Ah, yes. The dress.
Now walk us through this, because on the surface it sounds so petty. But you're saying there's a massive media literacy lesson here.
A huge lesson. This is where we learn about a concept called triangulation. So let's look at the conflicting narratives first.
Yeah, okay.
On one side, you have the Brooklyn and Nicola camp. Their story, which they pushed very, very hard in press interviews after the wedding, was that Victoria Beckham was supposed to design Nicola's wedding dress.
Right, the big unifying moment.
It was going to be this beautiful, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law moment. Then, at the 11th hour, and they use that phrase, 11th hour, Victoria ghosts her.
Ghosts her, meaning she just stopped responding, or...
According to Nicola's narrative, yes. Victoria allegedly calls Nicola's mom, not even Nicola, mind you.
Oh, that's a power move.
It is. She calls the mom and says her atelier simply can't make the dress. This leaves the bride scrambling, humiliated, and forced to find something else at the last second.
Which paints a very specific picture. It makes Victoria look petty, disorganized.
Or like she's intentionally sabotaging the wedding.
Exactly. It makes Nicola the victim who had to overcome this disaster. But, and here's where it gets really interesting. We have the fact check section of our briefing doc.
And this is where the story gets holy.
So whole.
Right. This is triangulation. When you have two conflicting stories, she ghosted me versus she didn't, you look for a third neutral data point to verify the timeline.
And that data point is Vogue magazine.
Exactly. And this Vogue report completely blows the last-minute scramble narrative out of the water.
I was reading this Vogue timeline, and I couldn't make it add up with Nicola's story at all. Vogue reported that Nicola was planning a custom Valentino dress, not a Victoria Beckham dress, for over a year.
Over a year. Let's provide some context for you on what custom Valentino couture actually means.
Yeah, please do.
You don't just walk into a store and buy this off a rack. I mean, we are talking about multiple trips to Rome.
Wow.
We were talking about meetings with the creative director, Pierpaolo Piccioli. We were talking about multiple fittings in the U.S. with a dedicated team of seamstresses flown in specifically for her.
You don't do that at the 11th hour.
Impossible. It's a process that involves months and months of labor and planning. It is physically impossible to conjure a custom Valentino gown because your mother-in-law flaked on you a week before the wedding.
So if Nicola had been planning this for a year, why the story about Victoria canceling?
Well, what does that imply to you?
It implies the dress drama was manufactured, a pretext.
Precisely. It suggests the narrative was designed from the beginning to frame Victoria as the villain and Nicola as the survivor. It effectively gaslights the public by presenting a false timeline that relies on us not knowing how couture fashion works.
It creates this David versus Goliath story where Nicola is the underdog.
Even though she's the billionaire's daughter, it's classic manipulation.
That is incredible. But it wasn't just the dress, right? If Nicola was firing shots in the press, Victoria was reportedly firing shots at the event.
Oh, yeah.
The briefing mentions the wedding reception was essentially hijacked.
This is where the territorial dispute becomes physical. You have Mark Anthony, the singer, who is a very close friend of the Beckhams. He's giving a speech.
Okay.
Now, you've been to weddings. Who do you toast?
The bride and groom. I mean, maybe the parents, briefly. But it's about the couple.
Right. But according to the reports, Mark Anthony spent his speech gushing about Victoria. He called her the most beautiful woman in the room.
Ouch. Imagine being the bride. It's your day. You're in your custom Valentino that took a year to make. And the keynote speaker is going on and on about your mother-in-law.
It sidelines the bride completely. It shifts the center of gravity in the room right back to Victoria.
Wow.
But the most damaging incident, the one that really seems to have traumatized the relationship, was the mother-son dance.
Oh, I have to talk about this. This part gave me secondhand embarrassment just reading the report. The source describes this dance as grinding.
The word grinding appears in the source text. That is incredibly strong language for a mother-son interaction.
Victoria and Brooklyn on the dance floor in front of 500 guests. And the report says Victoria was dancing inappropriately close to her son.
And we have to look at the reaction to understand the impact. Nicola reportedly left the room crying.
I don't blame her.
She felt her wedding was being stolen. She felt that Victoria was reasserting her dominance over Brooklyn in the most public, physical way possible.
It's almost primal, isn't it? It's like, I don't want to be crude, but it's like she was marking her territory.
It's crude, but it's accurate. In psychology, we look at boundaries. This was a massive boundary violation.
A huge one.
It creates a dynamic where the wedding isn't a celebration of a new union, it's a power struggle. Victoria's is signaling, he was mine first and he is still mine.
And Nicola is reacting to that.
Of course. And this sets the stage for everything that comes after. Because once the cake is cut and the guests go home, the real war begins. And the real war isn't about dancing.
No.
It's about money.
It's about money. This is the part of the deep dive that really shifts your perspective. We tend to think of the Beckhams as, like, royalty.
Posh and Becks.
Right. They are loaded. They are the British equivalent of the Kennedys in terms of fame. But our power shift segment in the outline points out something crucial: the wealth gap.
This is critical context that most people miss because both families are just filed under rich. But there are levels to this game.
Big levels.
The Beckhams are wealthy, yes. They are celebrities. They have a brand worth $500 million. But the Peltz family, that is a different stratosphere. We are talking about Nelson Peltz, Nicola's father. His estimated wealth is 3 times that of the Beckhams.
So in the ocean of rich people, the Beckhams are a big fish, but Nelson Peltz is a whale.
A killer whale.
Yeah.
And this matters because of leverage. For years, how did Victoria control her family? How did she keep everyone in line?
Through the Beckham payroll. Brand integration. If you're a Beckham kid, your career, your image, your pocket money, it all comes from the family business.
Right. Financial dependence is the most powerful lever of control in a family system. If you disobey the matriarch, you get cut off.
You lose your funding.
You lose your funding. But suddenly, Brooklyn marries Nicola. And through Nicola, he have access to the Peltz fortune. He doesn't need the Beckham payroll anymore.
He doesn't need to listen to Victoria to pay his bills.
That primary lever of control is snapped in half.
Completely.
And that has to be terrifying for someone like Victoria, who we will discuss later, is a self-admitted control freak. Her son just defected to a rival superpower.
And speaking of superpowers, let's look at this due diligence report on Nelson Peltz. Because if I'm Victoria Beckham and I read this report, I am losing sleep.
Oh, you're having nightmares.
It is a sobering document. We think of in-laws as people you see at Thanksgiving. But Nelson Peltz isn't just a rich guy, he's an activist investor. Can you explain what that actually means in this context?
An activist investor is essentially a corporate raider. His business reputation is built on what the report calls foundation stripping.
Foundation stripping? That sounds ominous.
It is. He buys shares in companies, big companies like Heinz or Wendy's. He forces his way onto the board, he fires the founders or the management, strips the assets, cuts costs to the bone, and flips the stock for profit.
So he dismantles things for a living.
He dismantles existing structures to squeeze out value. The report describes his business environments as toxic.
Okay, so now apply that mindset to a family feud.
Exactly. If Brooklyn looks up to Nelson Peltz as a father figure, which sources say he does, he is learning from a man who specializes in hostile takeovers.
This is not just a wealthy in-law.
Victoria is dealing with an opponent who professionally dismantles brands and leadership teams.
That puts the whole feud in a new light. It's not mom versus wife, it's legacy brand versus corporate raider.
And that leads us directly into the idea of the toxic alliance.
Right, because it's not just about money, it's about reputation. The Beckhams have spent, 25 years curating this image?
At least. Family first, hard work, clean living.
The Beckham brand is their most valuable asset. It's polished, it's safe, it's incredibly marketable.
But now, by marrying into the Peltz family, they are exposed to what the report calls reputational contagion.
Reputational contagion. It sounds like a virus.
It functions like one. If you align your brand with a toxic brand, the toxicity spreads to you. And let's get into the dirt here, because the allegations against Nicola Peltz in these documents are, well, they're shocking.
They really are. We aren't talking about being a bit rude to a waiter.
Not even close.
No. The due diligence section lists specific allegations of staff abuse. There are reports of Nicola threatening maids with her father's power, saying things like, "I'll have my dad fire you if they didn't do exactly what you wanted."
It paints a picture of someone who uses power as a weapon against the vulnerable.
And then there's the story that just stands out above all the rest.
A Manny incident.
This made me gasp. The report mentions a shocking allegation that Nicola pushed a nanny down the stairs.
Pushed a nanny down the stairs.
I mean, that's assault. That's something out of a horror movie.
That is the allegation. Now, we must state clearly, the family denies it.
Of course.
But the source document includes a very chilling note. It says the nanny is no longer with us.
No longer with us, like fired or...
The phrasing is ambiguous in the source, and I think it's intentionally so. It leaves a lot to the imagination.
It does.
But even the existence of such a rumor is damaging. It suggests a level of physical aggression and a total lack of consequences.
And then you have the draconian rules of the Peltz household.
Oh, this one is something else.
Staff reportedly get fired for eating leftovers that were to be thrown in the trash.
And let that sink in. A family with billions of dollars, and they are firing staff for eating garbage.
It's dystopian. It indicates a culture of fear.
And this is the danger for the Beckhams. If they align too closely with the Peltz family, their ethical brand gets tainted.
You can't be the wholesome family unity brand.
If your in-laws are running a household, that sounds like a Victorian horror story.
It's a poison pill. If the Beckhams swallow it, if they embrace the Peltz, they get sick. But if they spit it out, they lose their son.
It's a lose-lose situation.
Which brings us to the psychology of this whole mess. Why is Victoria reacting the way she is? The report calls her a control freak, but she admits that herself, doesn't she?
She does. She has worn that label with a kind of pride in interviews for years. But we need to understand the root cause of that control.
It's not just about being bossy.
No. The psychological profile in our stack suggests it comes from a deep fear of irrelevance.
That makes so much sense. I mean, think about her career.
Exactly. Victoria has managed her image since the Spice Girls days. She was Posh Spice, a character. Then she transitioned to being a wag, then to a fashion mogul. Every step was calculated.
Every photo was posed.
It's a survival strategy. She believes that if she stops controlling the narrative, she disappears.
So when she encounters something she can't control, like a wedding she isn't planning or her son's choice of wife, what happens to that psyche?
She becomes, as the report says, uncomfortable. And for a control freak, discomfort leads to lashing out. She tries to dominate the narrative because that's the only way she knows how to feel safe.
She tries to make the dress about her. She tries to make the dance about her.
And this is compounded by the golden sun dynamic.
Okay, explain this term to me. I see it in the notes. What is a golden son?
In family systems theory, especially in families with high-control parents or narcissistic traits, the golden child is the one the parent projects their own identity onto.
Okay.
Brooklyn was Victoria's golden son. They were incredibly close. The report uses the term enmeshment.
Enmeshment, that sounds sticky.
It means the boundaries are blurred. Victoria doesn't just see Brooklyn as her son, a separate individual. She sees him as an extension of herself.
So his successes are her successes. His choices are her choices.
Precisely. So when he marries Nicola, it's not just, my son got married and I'm happy for him.
It's, I lost a limb.
Exactly. It feels like a physical amputation. And to make it worse, he's not just leaving, he's defecting.
Right, to the enemy camp.
He's looking at Nelson Peltz as a new father. For Victoria, this feels like a betrayal of the highest order. A delictor, a soldier switching sides.
But here is where the deep dive really pays off. If we look at the history, this is eerily familiar.
It is.
The generational curse. This was the part of the research that made me go, whoa, because we think this is unique to Victoria, but it's not.
It's history repeating itself almost perfectly.
Yeah.
We have to go back to the 1990s.
Okay.
David Beckham starts dating Victoria Adams, Posh Spice,
Yeah.
who hated her.
David's parents, specifically his dad, Ted.
Right. Ted Beckham thought Victoria was a distraction. He thought she was stealing his son away from football, away from the family focus.
He hated the celebrity circus she brought with her.
Hated it. David actually stopped speaking to his father for years because of it.
So wait a minute. Victoria was the Nicola of the 90s. She was the outsider. She was the thief who was ruining the golden son's potential.
And now, 30 years later, what is she doing?
She has become the very person she hated.
She is treating Nicola as the thief. She is enacting the exact same trauma that was inflicted on her.
That is tragic. It's a cycle of abuse. The victim becomes the perpetrator. She's so busy trying to protect her son that she doesn't realize she's turning into her own father-in-law.
Unresolved trauma is a powerful engine. And because this is a business as much as a family, that trauma gets weaponized.
Which leads us to the nuclear option.
Yeah,
we have to talk about the legal threats, because this went from passive-aggressive Instagram posts to lawyers are involved real quick.
the escalation is severe. We have reports that Victoria and the Beckham camp sent a formal cease and desist letter.
A legal warning shot.
A legal warning shot, but not to a tabloid, not to a stalker.
Brooklyn, to their own son.
Think about the implication of that. A cease and desist says, stop talking or we will sue you.
To send that to your child.
That is treating him like a rogue employee, not a family member.
It's corporate severance. It's saying you are no longer part of this company. You are a liability.
And it gets worse. The sources allege that the Beckhams tried to bribe Brooklyn.
Wait, a bribe.
They offered him money to sign away the commercial rights to the Beckham name.
So explain that. They wanted to pay him to not be a Beckham?
Commercially, yes. They wanted to ensure that he couldn't use the family name to sell products or build a brand that they didn't control.
That is unbelievable. That is next level.
It proves that the brand is placed higher on the hierarchy than the bloodline.
Wow.
They would rather buy him out like a shareholder they want to get rid of than let him tarnish the trademark.
That is cold. That is purely transactional. But David Beckham, he seems to be playing a different game, right?
Yes, David.
You see him in the press, and he's always smiling, posting nice pictures. He seems like the peacemaker in all this.
Don't be fooled.
Yeah.
This is the benevolent patriarch pivot.
Explain that.
It's a classic good cop, bad cop strategy. While the lawyers are sending cease and desists and Victoria is freezing people out, David gives these public quotes.
Right, like the one in the doc. Kids make mistakes and learn.
Exactly. He sounds so forgiving. Oh, just kids being kids.
While the legal team is doing the dirty work behind the scenes.
It's calculated soft power. It preserves his image as the loving father and the statesman of football. It distances him from the nastiness of the feud.
But he's the chairman of the board.
Make no mistake, that legal strategy doesn't happen without his approval. He's just letting the legal department and Victoria take the heat.
It really exposes the machinery behind the smile, doesn't it? So when we step back, we have a family famous for its unity.
The brand is unity. That's what they sell.
And it's being torn apart by the very thing that built it, the obsessive need to control the image.
It is the ultimate tragedy of the brand. They built their success on the idea that the Beckhams are a fortress. But by trying to fortify it against Nicola, they have locked their own son out.
It really makes you question the definition of success here. You look at the Peltz family, unimaginable wealth, billions of dollars.
But a reputation that, according to our docs, is toxic and ruthless.
Then you have the Beckhams, a polished, beautiful brand, but behind the scenes, it's cracking under the pressure of maintaining that polish.
It raises the question.
Yeah.
Which is actually more stable? The Peltz model of brute force and money, or the Beckham model of image and control?
And right now?
Right now, the brute force seems to be winning. Brooklyn has defected. The leverage is gone.
And that brings up the biggest risk of all. If Brooklyn stays gone, if he fully integrates into the Peltz empire, does the Beckham brand lose its future?
That's the billion-dollar question.
They spent decades building a legacy to pass down. If the heir walks away to join the competition, what was it all for?
That is the big risk. A brand without a successor is just a history book. If the Beckham children don't carry the torch, or if they are legally barred from carrying it because of these disputes, the Beckham empire ends with David and Victoria.
It becomes a closed chapter. Which leaves us with a final thought. If the Beckhams are willing to legally threaten their own son to protect the Beckham name, is the family actually a family anymore, or is it just a corporation with shared DNA?
That is a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Next time you see a headline about a celebrity wedding or dress drama, just remember, you might be watching a hostile takeover in real time.
And check the timeline. Always check the timeline.
Absolutely.
Triangulate your sources, people. Don't let the headlines gaslight you. That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care.